In her previous life, when Tangwon died, Song Ji-chuan was still accompanying Luo Susu on an expedition in Antarctica. News of a high-ranking political official bowing for love and remaining devoted to protecting a beautiful scientist for decades spread like wildfire across the internet. Netizens eagerly discussed, saying that after seeing everything Secretary Song had done for Professor Luo, they believed in love again. However, they didn't know that the love-bowing Secretary Song also had a neglected wife. When Tangwon saw the news and went to confront Song Ji-chuan, she received only one sentence: "Don't make a scene." In the final moments of her fading life, Tangwon felt that there had never been a moment so light and free. She was finally going to break free from all of this. If there was a next life, she would never fall in love with Song Ji-chuan again. Xiao Tang, wake up! Did you hear what I just said? Tangwon's attention was suddenly pulled back, looking at Sister Lin in military uniform in front of her. She didn't react for a moment. When did Sister Lin become so young? Sister Lin at the marriage registration office sighed as she looked at Tangwon, who was still standing there in a daze, and repeated what she had just said to Tangwon. "Xiao Tang, marriage is a matter for two people, although Captain Song has already signed. The marriage certificate requires both parties to come and handle it. Do you think you should go back and discuss it with Captain Song, and find a time to come together?" Captain Song? Didn't Song Ji-chuan retire from the military and enter politics long ago? How could he still be a captain? Tangwon's consciousness was finally pulled back. She looked up and caught a glimpse of her reflection in the office window. Wasn't that her younger self? Had she been reborn? The concept of rebirth, which was beyond Tangwon's understanding, left her no time to say much more to Sister Lin. She immediately took back the marriage application she had brought today, tossed out a quick "I'll go back and ask," and hurriedly left. Tangwon remembered, this was from her previous life, when she had come alone to submit the marriage application. In that life, Sister Lin had also advised her to discuss things properly with Song Ji-chuan, but she hadn't listened. Instead, she had insisted that Sister Lin accept the application, and in the end, the matter had escalated to Song Ji-chuan's superiors before their marriage was officially recognized. In this lifetime, I absolutely must not have any further connection with Song Ji-chuan. Realizing she had been reborn, Tangwon quickly withdrew her marriage application and returned to Song Ji-chuan's residence. The house assigned to Song Ji-chuan was already filled with bright red wedding quilts and festive window decorations. Anyone who entered this home would know it was the residence of a newlywed couple about to start their life together. Besides Song Ji-chuan, now Tangwon herself thought so too. When Tangwon arrived home, Song Ji-chuan hadn't returned yet, but she wasn't in a hurry. In another half hour, Song Ji-chuan would bring back his junior, the genius scientist Luo Susu, and begin a three-person cohabitation. Since she had made up her mind to draw a clear line with Song Ji-chuan in this lifetime, Tangwon immediately packed all her belongings into the storage room as soon as she got home. She then carefully tucked away her identification documents and the only 60 yuan she had left on her person, as this would be the foundation for her independent life in the future. After finishing these tasks, Tangwon took out the marriage application form bearing her and Song Ji-chuan's names from the document folder. She walked to the kitchen, turned on the gas stove, and watched as the flames slowly consumed the paper. "What are you doing?" Song Ji-chuan didn't find Tangwon in the living room, where she usually stayed. After returning home, when he walked into the kitchen and saw Tangwon staring blankly at the gas stove, a strange feeling flickered in his heart, but it was quickly ignored. Seeing that Song Ji-chuan had returned, Tangwon used her body to block his line of sight. She turned off the gas stove, swept the ashes on the stove into the trash can with a cloth, and then turned to look at Song Ji-chuan. "Nothing, just thinking about what to do tonight." "All right, then come out for a moment. I want to introduce you to someone." Tangwon followed Song Ji-chuan into the living room and saw Luo Susu, dressed in Western-style clothing, fiddling with the unfinished paper-cut character for Double Happiness in the living room. Seeing them come out, she took the initiative to speak. "Senior, this must be my sister-in-law. I was just looking at this half-finished paper-cut character for Double Happiness." "Sister-in-law, your hands are so skillful." Before Song Ji-chuan could introduce Tangwon, Luo Suzu stepped forward and grabbed Tangwon's hand. "Sister-in-law, Brother Ji-chuan said he wasn't comfortable with me staying at the military guest house and mentioned there's an extra room at home I could borrow. Do you mind, sister-in-law?" With the same innocent and naive tone, Luo Susu asked the same question as in her previous life. How had she answered back then? She couldn't remember, but it must have been a hysterical refusal. "Sure, I don't mind. You can stay as long as you like." Tangwon withdrew her hand from Luo Susu's grasp and replied calmly. Song Ji-chuan had originally thought Tangwon would refuse, seeing her poor complexion, and was just about to tell her to be more sensible when, to his surprise, she agreed, and her reaction was so indifferent. "Then it's settled. Susu will stay in the secondary bedroom, you move to the master bedroom to sleep, and I'll sleep on the floor." Song Ji-chuan believed that since he and Tangwon were about to get married, moving in together early wasn't a problem. so he directly decided to have Tangwan give up her bedroom. Tangwan had been planning to move out anyway, and now she had an extra reason to start packing early, which suited her just fine. She quickly packed up the items from the secondary bedroom, intending to store them all in the storage room. Just as she was about to toss the wedding quilt from her own room into the storage room as well, Song Ji-chuan stopped her. "Put the wedding quilt in the master bedroom. There's still space in the closet in my room. The storage room is dusty, and it wouldn't be good to get the wedding quilt dirty." Song Ji-chuan's words left both women in the room momentarily stunned. Luo Susu was unwilling. She had liked Song Ji-chuan for so long, yet he had ended up marrying a girl from the countryside. Tangwan, on the other hand, didn't care in the slightest. It didn't matter to her where the wedding quilt was placed, as she wouldn't be using it anyway. Song Ji-chuan took the initiative to carry the wedding quilt into his own room, placing it in the cabinet beneath the wardrobe. He then cleared out half of the space in the upper cabinet and said to Tangwan, "You can put your clothes here." In his memory, Tangwan's smile did not appear. Instead, she nodded coldly and said there was no rush. Song Ji-chuan didn't know why Tangwan was different today and thought she was unhappy about him bringing Luo Susu back. While Luo Susu was tidying up the guest room, he prepared to talk to Tangwan again. "Susu won't be staying long. She's an expert specially invited by the military, and they'll assign her a house soon. Please don't make a fuss during this time." Tangwan listened to Song Ji-chuan's same old lecture and suddenly felt a strong urge to laugh. What on earth had gone wrong with her in her past life that she had actually fallen for someone like Song Ji-chuan? Tangwan ignored Song Ji-chuan's lecture, walked straight out of the room, and began preparing dinner. A person is made of iron, and food is the steel. Although a scumbag is infuriating, one shouldn't starve themselves. The three of them finished dinner in silence, washed up, and each returned to their rooms to rest. Song Ji-chuan looked at Tangwan sleeping in his bed, feeling a secret sense of satisfaction, thinking that Tangwan hadn't smiled at him all day. He wanted to say something, but before he could even start, Tangwan cut him off. "Go to sleep early. I plan to go home tomorrow and have a long journey ahead." "Well, when you go back tomorrow, have Grandpa pick an auspicious date, and we'll go get our marriage certificate." Tangwan didn't respond, and Song Ji-chuan assumed she was tired and had already fallen asleep. The next day, Tangwan deliberately got up very late to avoid Song Ji-chuan and the others. After they had left, she got up, packed all her belongings into a suitcase, and prepared to take them back to the village. As she was leaving, she ran into a neighbor's sister-in-law who jokingly asked when Tangwan was getting married. Tangwan brushed it off and headed straight for the bus station, an hour and a half by bus, followed by an hour of walking, and Tangwan finally arrived back at her home. As she passed the village entrance, a few elderly villagers asked why she was carrying a suitcase. Tangwan simply replied that it was something she no longer needed. Tangwan had returned to the village mainly to take care of two matters: first, to break off her engagement with the Song family, and second, to obtain a certificate from the village committee so she could participate in the upcoming college entrance examination. Tangwan was originally the most promising candidate in the village to attend university. However, ever since she met Song Ji-chuan, she had become infatuated, throwing even the village secretary's advice to the wind. She had been eagerly looking forward to marrying Song Ji-chuan and didn't want to be separated from him by going away for university. Tangwan found the jade pendant exchanged during their engagement at home, tucked it into her pocket, and headed to the Song family's house. This marriage was bought with Tangwan's father's life. When he was young, her father saved the life of old Master Song. After old Master Song retired and returned to Tang family village to live out his old age, he learned that Tangwan's father had already passed away, leaving Tangwan as the only one left in the family. Thus, he forcefully arranged the marriage with Song Ji-chuan. Old Master Song sent her to Song Ji-chuan's side in the name of a life-saving benefactor, saying that the two of them should cultivate their feelings well, and once they had developed enough, they could get married. Tangwan stayed by Song Ji-chuan's side for 2 years, but he always remained indifferent toward her, never showing the slightest hint of affection. Just when Tangwan thought it was impossible for her and Song Ji-chuan to have a future, at this year's New Year's reunion banquet, he unexpectedly took the initiative to agree to become engaged to Tangwan first. Tangwan was overwhelmed by the immense surprise and failed to notice the deeper meaning in Song Ji-chuan's eyes at that moment. The Song family lived not far from her own home, so Tangwan arrived at the Song residence in no time. She knocked on the door, and the nanny who was taking care of old Master Song opened it. Recognizing Tangwan, she immediately welcomed her inside. "Wan, come here." Old Master Song, seeing that it was Tangwan, called her by her childhood nickname and beckoned her to his side. "Grandpa." Tangwan's eyes welled up with tears, including her past life. It had been decades since she last saw Grandpa Song, the person who had been the kindest to her after her own father passed away. Hearing the choked tone in Tangwan's voice, Old Master Song quickly took her hand and guided her to sit down. Wanwan, what's wrong? Did Jichuan bully you? Tell Grandpa, and Grandpa will definitely stand up for you. Tangwan also realized her tone was off and quickly adjusted her mood. No, Grandpa, Song Jichuan didn't bully me. However, when Old Master Song heard Tangwan directly call Song Jichuan by his full name, he was taken aback. He was a shrewd man and knew that the change in how Tangwan addressed his grandson meant she must have something important to discuss with him today. Wanwan, Jichuan hasn't bullied you. Why did you suddenly come back today? Weren't you preparing for your wedding? Have you bought everything? Upon hearing Grandpa Song bring up her marriage to Song Jichuan, Tangwan, who was holding the jade pendant, tightened her grip in her pocket, instead of immediately responding to Grandpa Song. She took out the engagement jade pendant. Grandpa, I want to break off the engagement with Song Jichuan. I don't want to marry him anymore. Grandpa Song was greatly shocked. Although Tangwan appeared gentle in temperament, she was as stubborn as her father. Once she made a decision, she would never go back on it. Grandpa Song did not take Tangwan's jade pendant. Instead, he reached out and gently patted her head, speaking softly. Our Wanwan has been wronged. If you truly wish to break off the engagement with Jichuan, Grandpa supports your decision, but Wanwan, tell Grandpa, how did Jichuan bully you? Grandpa will teach him a lesson first, and then you can break off the engagement. Hearing that Grandpa Song not only did not blame her but also supported her decision to break off the engagement, Tangwan could no longer hold back the grievances from both her past and present lives. Tears streamed from her eyes, releasing all her pent-up emotions. Tangwan threw herself into Grandpa Song's arms, as if crying out all the sorrows from her past life. In Grandpa Song's embrace, she wept until her whole body trembled, nearly convulsing. The immense grief left Old Master Song utterly shocked. Back when Tangwan's father passed away, she had nearly cried herself into a faint. What on earth had Song Jichuan done to make Tangwan so heartbroken? Old Master Song dared not entertain any further thoughts of persuading Tangwan. It was clear that the child had truly given up on Jichuan. Forcing them together now would only create a resentful couple. After a long bout of crying, Song Ju gradually calmed down. When she lifted her head again, her eyes were red and swollen. Old Master Song quickly asked Aunt Shue to boil 2 eggs to help reduce Tangwan's swelling. Now that Tangwan had settled down, Old Master Song finally spoke up. Wanwan, don't worry. I'll have Aunt Shue call Secretary Tang over in a moment and ask him to bring the marriage certificate so we can help you cancel this engagement. Seeing that Grandpa Song agreed to her request to break off the engagement without asking any questions, Tangwan felt another wave of bitterness in her heart. Grandpa, I'm sorry. It's all because I'm too willful, but I really don't like Song Jichuan anymore. And I don't know how to like him again. I'm so tired, Grandpa. Tangwan repeated her apologies incoherently to Grandpa Song, not saying a single bad word about Song Jichuan, only stating that she no longer liked him. Wanwan, there's no need to apologize. I've said before that if Wanwan can't become my granddaughter-in-law, she can be my granddaughter. Since you're my granddaughter, Grandpa will support all your decisions. Grandpa Song patted Tangwan's back, comforting her not to feel too guilty, and then continued to ask, Wanwan, what do you plan to do after breaking off the engagement? Grandpa, I want to take the college entrance exam and see the world outside. Tangwan shared her plans, hoping to hear Grandpa Song's advice. Unexpectedly, as soon as Grandpa Song heard that Tangwan wanted to take the college entrance exam, he immediately expressed his approval. Taking the college entrance exam is a great idea. If you get into university, Wanwan, you can have your own life, and I can rest assured about your future. However, you haven't studied for 2 years. Do you still remember the courses you left behind? I have a good friend whose son is a teacher at County No. 1 High School. When you go back this time, go to him for tutoring. Wanwan is so smart. I'm sure you'll be able to pick up the textbooks again. Seeing how supportive Grandpa Song was and that he even thought of finding a teacher for her, Tangwan felt deeply moved. She continued to share her future plans with Grandpa Song, wanting him to know that her decision to break off the engagement and pursue university wasn't made on a whim. She had a well-thought-out plan for her future. Following Grandpa Song's earlier instructions, Aunt Shue had invited the village party's Secretary Tang. As soon as Secretary Tang arrived, he noticed Tangwan's swollen eyes from crying. Upon hearing from Grandpa Song that the marriage arrangement between their families and Tangwan's was being called off, he immediately returned to the village office and brought back the marriage contract that both parties had signed. Grandpa Song destroyed the marriage contract in front of both of them and took back the jade pendant from Tangwan. From that moment on, Tangwan was finally free from any ties to Song Jichuan in this lifetime. When Secretary Tang learned that Tangwan intended to retake the university entrance exam, he was also very supportive, without hesitation. He issued her a school enrollment certificate, allowing her to participate in this year's college entrance examination. Both matters were resolved smoothly, and Tangwon felt much more relaxed. She decided to stay in the village for a few days before returning to the county town to rent a place and prepare for the college entrance exam. 3 days later, Tangwon followed Grandpa Song's advice and returned to Song Jichuan's residence. On one hand, the area was a military family compound, making it safer to live there. On the other hand, it was close to the high school teacher's home recommended by Grandpa Song, making it convenient for Tangwon to attend tutoring sessions. Grandpa Song promised Tangwon that he would keep their engagement annulment a secret for her and would not let Song Jichuan know for the time being. Everything would be discussed after Tangwon finished her college entrance exam. When Tangwon returned to Song Jichuan's residence, Luo Susu had already moved out. It was said that Song Jichuan had taken the initiative to help Luo Susu secure a house through connections, and it was approved ahead of schedule. Located in the building next to theirs, Tangwon saw that Luo Susu had already moved out, so she moved back into the secondary bedroom. Then, using the money she had on hand, she bought all the textbooks needed for the college entrance exam and focused her attention on exam preparation. Song Jichuan also noticed that since Tangwon returned from the village, she had become increasingly distant toward him. He wondered if it was because the wedding date his grandfather had calculated was a bit late, which might have upset her. During this period, Song Jichuan would bring Tangwon different snacks and small pieces of jewelry every time he came back, trying to cheer her up. However, Tangwon never seemed particularly interested. Over time, Song Jichuan grew accustomed to her cold demeanor. He also consulted with some married people in the military, who said it was pre-wedding jitters and that things would get better after the wedding. Time flew by swiftly. Tangwon buried herself in the ocean of knowledge, with no mind to care about other matters. She didn't even listen when her neighbor's sister-in-law reminded her to keep an eye on Song Jichuan. What a joke. Song Jichuan was nothing to Tangwon now. Luo Susu kept finding various excuses to secure alone time with Song Jichuan, even growing bolder and provoking Tangwon, but Tangwon ignored it all. The three of them, in this strange balance, welcomed Tangwon's college entrance examination. To ensure her college entrance exam went smoothly, Tangwon specifically told Song Jichuan that she had matters to attend to back in the village and would also visit Grandpa Song. In reality, she had booked a hotel room for a few days, planning to stay there during the exam period. Song Jichuan didn't think much of it. Tangwon smoothly completed her college entrance exam, and now all that was left was to wait for the results. On the day the college entrance exam ended, Tangwon checked out of the hotel. She couldn't afford to waste money on a hotel now, so she packed her things and returned to Song Jichuan's home. Unexpectedly, she happened to run into Song Jichuan and his comrades having a gathering. When Tangwon arrived, Song Jichuan's comrades were lamenting how he was trapped by a debt of gratitude for saving his life, unable to shake off a woman who was completely mismatched for him. If it were before, Tangwon would have chosen to leave quietly, tactfully not disturbing them, but the Tangwon of now would never compromise or endure humiliation. She directly pulled the door open and walked in. The group was stunned by Tangwon's sudden intrusion. The person who had said Tangwon and Song Jichuan were mismatched flushed red with embarrassment. It was the first time he had spoken ill of someone and been overheard by the person in question. Song Jichuan had the strongest reaction. Seeing Tangwon pull open the door and walk straight in, he suddenly stood up and strode over to her side, not even bothering to right the chair he had knocked over. Chemzi spoke out of turn. "Don't take it to heart." The first thing Song Jichuan said after grabbing Tangwon's wrist was to apologize on behalf of his comrade. "And what if I do take it to heart?" Tangwon looked coldly at Song Jichuan. "Tangwon, be good. Chemzi has had too much to drink. He doesn't know any better. But don't you?" Tangwon, exhausted from 2 days of college entrance exams, looked up and met the man's gaze. Suddenly, she felt utterly drained. She pulled her wrist free from his grasp and rubbed it gently. "All right. I'll be sensible." Then, ignoring everyone in the living room, she headed straight for the secondary bedroom. Song Jichuan hadn't expected Tangwon to make a big fuss only to let it go so easily. For a moment, he stood there in stunned silence. It was Luo Susu, who had remained quiet the whole time, who finally spoke up. "Brother Jichuan, your wife looks quite tired, so we won't disturb you any longer." Chemzi spoke out of turn after drinking, but as they say, in wine there is truth. "Please advise your wife not to be angry." After that, Luo Susu, acting like the lady of the house, called out to Song Jichuan's comrades in arms, suggesting they all leave together. Everyone else left, but Luo Susu remained in the living room. From the moment Tangwon left, Song Jichuan had been frozen in one position, staring intently at the door to the secondary bedroom, not uttering a word for a long time. Seeing that Tangwon now had such a significant impact on Song Jichuan, Luo Susu bit her lip and tried to persuade him a few times. Not only did Song Jichuan not listen, but he also asked her to leave first. Luo Susu left unwillingly, but the jealousy in her eyes clouded her judgment. She couldn't wait any longer. It was clear that Jichuan's heart had already leaned toward Tangwan. If she didn't do something now, there would truly be no chance left for her and Jichuan, after everyone had left. Song Jichuan sat on the sofa facing the door of the second bedroom, lit a cigarette, and remained motionless for a long time. The way Tangwan had looked at him today made his heart race. It was as if she were looking at a stranger, with not a trace of affection for him in her eyes. This was beyond Song Jichuan's control. The Tangwan who had gazed at him with love on their engagement day was gone. When had she disappeared? He had no idea. Song Jichuan sat in the living room all night, pondering the origin of Tangwan's change, but he found no answers. It wasn't until the next morning, when Tangwan, well-rested and refreshed, emerged from the second bedroom, that she saw the living room littered with cigarette butts and Song Jichuan with bloodshot eyes. Wanwan, about what happened yesterday. I was wrong. Those things they said were not what I meant. Seeing Tangwan come out of the bedroom immediately, Song Jichuan hurried forward to explain again. Tangwan took a step back, repelled by the smell of smoke on Song Jichuan. Yesterday I already said, I'm sensible, so I won't take it to heart. You don't need to be like this. Song Jichuan also knew he reeked of smoke, and since Tangwan didn't like it, he didn't step forward again. Instead, he said to Tangwan, Wanwan, today I went to the team to ask for leave. Tomorrow, we'll go together to submit our marriage application. The date Grandpa picked is too far away. I want to marry you sooner. Song Jichuan always felt as if he was about to lose Tangwan, so he brought up marriage. He thought that by expressing his desire to marry Tangwan sooner, she would immediately agree and flutter around him like a happy little magpie. But the expected scenario didn't happen. Tangwan remained standing coldly to the side. This marriage, I'm afraid we can't go through with it. Before Tangwan could continue, Song Jichuan interrupted her. Wanwan, don't worry, I'll talk to Grandpa. This is the new China now, and we don't need to follow the old ways of picking dates anymore. If you're afraid Grandpa will blame us, I'll take you back to apologize to him in person after we get our marriage certificate. Without waiting for Tangwan to say another word, Song Jichuan excused himself, saying he was running out of time, and left. Tangwan clicked her tongue in annoyance. Was this the situation now? She had managed to extricate herself, but Song Jichuan had gotten himself entangled. It really proved a saying from netizens decades later, men are just shameless. Tangwan thought for a moment. She was fairly confident about her college entrance exam results and was certain she would get into university, but she absolutely could not have any further connection with Song Jichuan. After pondering for a while, she turned and walked out the door. At the entrance of the family compound, Tangwan chatted with a few military wives, shyly mentioning that Song Jichuan was eager to marry her and asking what documents they needed to bring when getting married. Their conversation was overheard by Luo Susu, who was not far away. Upon hearing that Song Jichuan had taken the initiative to marry Tangwan, Luo Susu's heart twisted even more, and she ignored the glance Tangwan cast in her direction. After passing the message to Luo Susu, Tangwan waited for her to make a move, hoping that Luo Susu would not disappoint her. Although this lifetime's Song Jichuan is different from the previous one, Tangwan is unwilling to tie her hard-won new life to Song Jichuan again. No, she can only hope that Luo Susu can stir up some trouble and make Song Jichuan give up the idea of marrying her. Luo Susu truly lived up to Tangwan's expectations. Within a few days, she made Song Jichuan abandon the idea of marrying her, although the marriage was called off. Song Jichuan became increasingly attentive to Tangwan. He followed her every word, and his reputation as a loving husband quickly spread throughout the residential compound. Soon, the day for the college entrance exam results to be released arrived. Tangwan used the same old trick, making an excuse to return to the village and going to the announcement location a day early to wait for the news. The next day, after getting her exam results and confirming that she was certain to get into the school she wanted, she prepared to go back and confront Song Jichuan directly. Unexpectedly, after returning, Luo Susu gave her such a huge surprise. She had actually managed to get Song Jichuan into bed. After checking her results early in the morning, Tangwan returned to the family compound. As soon as she opened the door, she noticed an unusual smell in the room. She was no longer an innocent young girl and knew exactly what that smell meant. Without hesitation, she pushed open the door to the master bedroom, where two people lay naked in each other's arms, covered by the wedding quilt she had made herself. The sound of the door opening startled Song Jichuan. He saw Tangwan standing expressionlessly at the doorway, watching him and Luo Susu lying in what was supposed to be their wedding quilt. His face instantly turned pale. Tangwan glanced at them, then turned and walked out of the master bedroom. Song Ji-chuan got up to chase after her, but before he could, he heard Tang-won say coldly, "I'm not leaving, get dressed and come to the living room." Song Ji-chuan moved quickly. As soon as Tang-won sat down on the living room sofa, he hastily threw on a piece of clothing and rushed into the living room. "Wan, I can explain. Yesterday we drank too much, that's why. Why we did that?" Song Ji-chuan frantically tried to explain to Tang-won, hoping to gain her forgiveness, but after he finished speaking, Tang-won's face showed no expression at all, no sadness, no pain, no resentment, and none of the love he had hoped for. Tang-won looked at him as if he were a stranger, her tone as casual as if she were discussing the nice weather today, and said, "Isn't this the first time, is it? Let me guess. When did you two get together? Was it after you last mentioned getting married?" Tang-won asked one question after another, not expecting any answers. After finishing, she just quietly looked at Song Ji-chuan, looking at this man who caused her a lifetime of pain in her previous life and nearly made her waver in this one. She thought, "Thank goodness, it's fortunate." Under Tang-won's questioning, Song Ji-chuan hung his head in shame, then, as if mustering his courage, knelt down before her. "Wan, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I will definitely draw a clear line with her. Can you forgive me this time?" Luo Susu, who had just finished getting ready in the bedroom, came out and saw Song Ji-chuan kneeling before Tang-won. While Tang-won sat calmly and loftily on the sofa, she immediately rushed to Song Ji-chuan's side. "Brother Ji-chuan, get up, we are in love, and you two aren't even married. We haven't done anything wrong, she's just using Grandpa Song's influence to pressure you. You don't need to apologize." Luo Susu tugged at Song Ji-chuan, trying to get him to stand up. However, when Song Ji-chuan heard Luo Susu declare in front of Tang-won that he and she were true lovers, he could no longer contain his regret. He pushed Luo Susu aside and warned her that he had never loved her. Tang-won watched Song Ji-chuan and Luo Susu. In the future, these two were destined to be the pride of heaven, a match made in heaven, but now they had ended up like this. Truly, fortunes change like the turning of a wheel. You two, could you please quiet down and listen to me first? When Song Ji-chuan heard that Tang-won was finally willing to speak to him again, he was about to beg for her forgiveness, but he never expected Tang-won to directly sentence him to death. "Song Ji-chuan, you're tainted, and I don't want anything tainted. Besides, I've been meaning to tell you for a long time, our engagement was called off half a year ago. Staying with you these past few months can be considered as repayment for the 2 years I spent taking care of you. Today, I came back to tell you that I plan to move out, but I happened to run into you both. Don't think too much of it." After speaking to Song Ji-chuan, Tang-won turned to look at Luo Susu. "Teacher Luo, you're absolutely right. Nowadays, marriage is a matter of personal freedom, but one must still be mindful of propriety, after all, in the eyes of others. Song Ji-chuan is still my fiancé. When you go out later, make sure your clothes are properly covered. Don't ruin your own future." After saying this, Tang-won stood up and prepared to leave. Just as she reached the door, Song Ji-chuan, who had finally processed her words, grabbed her arm. "Explain yourself clearly. What do you mean by calling off the engagement? When did this happen? Why wasn't I informed?" Tang-won struggled hard but couldn't break free, deciding to get it all out at once. She said, "Song Ji-chuan, you were the one who proposed marriage without telling me beforehand, so I don't need to inform you about calling off the engagement either. If you still don't understand, let me make it clearer. I don't love you anymore. I don't want to live with you. I don't want to see you, and I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore." Tang-won's anger flared up, and her voice unconsciously rose. "Weren't you also unwilling to marry me, otherwise? How could that woman have had a chance? How did it feel sleeping under the wedding quilt I embroidered? I can explain everything. Calling off the engagement is no small matter. Wan, don't make a rash decision you'll regret." Tang-won saw that Song Ji-chuan still refused to believe that she had truly broken off the engagement with him, and sneered coldly. "Explanation, regret. Explain that the two of you couldn't bear the loneliness and ended up together. Or explain that you actually enjoyed the infatuation of a genius scientist for yourself." Song Ji-chuan, you're 28 this year, not 8. You can understand the deep meaning in a woman's eyes. You can understand Luo Susu's affection for you. You can understand my love for you. And you can also understand the pain of my insecurity. Are you really happy? 2 women fighting over you, and I didn't make a move today. Are you a bit disappointed, if you really want to see me fight for you? That's not impossible. After saying this, Tang-won took advantage of Song Ji-chuan's momentary distraction, broke free from his control, and rushed back into the room. She then slapped Luo Susu 3 times in quick succession, hitting her hard on both sides. The 3 slaps left Luo Susu stunned. She couldn't believe that Tang-won had dared to lay a hand on her. She had never been treated like this before. These 3 slaps really satisfied Tang-won. So this is what netizens mean by tearing apart a mistress. It feels so good. I should have done this earlier. Luo Susu snapped back to reality and suddenly let out a loud scream. While screaming, she rushed toward Tangwan, wanting to fight back. Song Jichuan, who was standing nearby, was stunned for a moment when he saw Tangwan actually take action. Then, noticing Luo Susu trying to harm Tangwan, he immediately stepped forward to stop her. Teacher Luo, keep your voice down. If you keep acting crazy, the two of you won't be able to hide this mess anymore. Actually, it was impossible to keep it hidden anyway. Song Jichuan and Tangwan's voices at the door were so loud that they had already carried outside. The soundproofing in the residential compound was never great to begin with, and with Luo Susu's screams on top of that, everyone outside probably already knew what was going on. While Song Jichuan was holding back the frantic Luo Susu, Tangwan seized the opportunity to leave. Song Jichuan, may you have a happy union for 100 years. After saying that, Tangwan pulled open the door and walked straight out. The neighbors in the hallway saw her come out, but none dared to approach and speak to her. They just watched her with various looks in their eyes, some filled with pity, some with schadenfreude, and others with different emotions. Tangwan didn't even have time to care anymore. Stepping out of the family compound, the midsummer sunlight spread over her body, and a bright future lay ahead, waiting for her. Song Jichuan ultimately failed to stop Tangwan. After leaving Song Jichuan's place, Tangwan planned to return to the village and stay for a while. On one hand, she wanted to wait for the admission notice to arrive in the village, and on the other hand, she wanted to spend more time with Grandpa Song. She had chosen a university in Shanghai to study architecture. Shanghai was thousands of miles away from home, and she estimated she wouldn't return for the 4 years of university, so she wanted to make the most of this time to fulfill her filial duties. Grandpa Song didn't say much when he learned that Tangwan had chosen a university in the south. He simply told her to take good care of herself once she left. During this time, Song Jichuan kept returning to the village to find Tangwan, hoping to win her back. However, every time he came, he was either driven away by Grandpa Song or scolded away by Secretary Tang. When Song Jichuan came again, he happened to run into Secretary Tang delivering Tangwan's university admission letter. Seeing Tangwan holding the bright red admission notice with a smile on her face, a smile he hadn't seen in a long time, Song Jichuan finally realized that Tangwan no longer wanted him, and that she had made this decision long ago. The news that Tangwan had been admitted to the best university in Shanghai spread throughout the county. This was a university student, and not just any university, it was one in Shanghai. Their county hadn't produced a university student in years. To commend Tangwan, the county leaders specially invited her to give a lecture to the students at County No. 1 Middle School. They hoped to inspire the students and also have her share her learning experience. The county funded Tangwan's living expenses and travel costs for her subsequent university studies, and she couldn't easily refuse the task of giving a speech at County No. 1 High School. Since learning that Tangwan was going to university, Song Jichuan had not come to see her again, and Tangwan thought he had finally given up. However, just as she thought Song Jichuan had quieted down, Luo Susu started causing trouble. On the day of the speech, when Tangwan arrived, she discovered that not only was she giving a speech, but Luo Susu was also there. County No. 1 High School had actually invited Luo Susu as well. Luo Susu, dressed in a stylish little dress, took the stage to share with the students of County No. 1 High School how she became a scientist and the experiences she had while being sent abroad. Putting everything else aside, Luo Susu's speech today was successful and appropriate. She brought a different world to the students of County No. 1 High School, introducing them to diverse perspectives. When it was Tangwan's turn, she only focused on the key points of studying: how to review efficiently, how to guess the examiner's intentions, how to predict exam questions, and how to get through low points. With Luo Susu's shining example preceding her, Tangwan's study-focused speech seemed to fail to capture the students' interest. Just as she was about to put down the microphone and step off the stage, Luo Susu raised her hand. No one knew why Luo Susu suddenly raised her hand to ask a question, but it was not appropriate to interrupt these lectures. They just listened as Luo Susu, with a smile in her eyes, asked Tangwan, "Classmate Tangwan, I heard that you took a 2-year leave of absence and were about to get married. Why did you suddenly decide to come back to take the college entrance exam? Is it to catch up with your partner?" Tangwan's decision to take a leave of absence from school to prepare for marriage was no secret in the county town, but no one would spoil her happy day for anyone else, except for Luo Susu. Ever since Tangwan left that day, Song Jichuan had completely ignored her. Later, when she heard that Tangwan had been admitted to a prestigious university, Luo Susu couldn't help but feel resentful, which is why she chose to embarrass Tangwan in front of so many people. Luo Susu's words didn't really affect Tangwon much, but this was also a good opportunity to once again draw a clear line with Song Jichuan, so she picked up the microphone again, thought for a moment, and then began to speak. Actually, when I decided to return to school and take the college entrance exam, there were countless times I wanted to give up, but every time I was about to give up, I would write a sentence in my notebook, to establish a moral heart for heaven and earth, to secure a livelihood for the people, to continue the lost teachings of past sages, and to open the way for eternal peace. Zhang Zai's 4 sentences of Henku are the driving force that inspires me to move forward, yet, I am well aware that I am not that great, and I cannot show off my limited skills in front of so many outstanding teachers here, therefore, I can only share my learning experiences with everyone. But if Teacher Luo insists on asking for a reason, I can only say that the world is vast and splendid, and I do not want to be confined to a small corner. I also want to see what Teacher Luo just shared with the students. As for whether I want to make progress together with a partner, I can only answer that the premise for my highly efficient review is just one: once I succeed, I'll cut ties with my beloved. Also, I am currently single. Tangwon's remark about cutting ties with my beloved once I succeed made the students below burst into laughter, and even the teachers who were listening on the side greatly appreciated Tangwon's speech today. Once ashore, first cut off the beloved. Sitting in the last row, Song Jichuan whispered these words repeatedly, his gaze filled with infatuation as he watched the radiant Tangwon on the podium. Such a wonderful Tangwon, and he had lost her just like that. Since that day, Luo Susu never appeared before Tangwon again. Tangwon spent her last peaceful summer at home and arrived in Shanghai when school started in September. Life in Shanghai was vibrant, busy studies, new friends, and countless training classes filled Tangwon's days. Only the monthly deposit of 100 yuan occasionally reminded Tangwon of the past. Since disappearing from Tangwon's side, Song Jichuan had been sending money every month, along with a steady stream of hometown specialties delivered to Tangwon's school once a month. Even the girls in the same dormitory were saying how Tangwon could have such a devoted pursuer. Whenever these topics came up, Tangwon would remain indifferent and not join in. Over time, everyone understood her attitude and stopped bringing it up. The 4 years of university passed in the blink of an eye. Tangwon excelled academically and was recommended for postgraduate studies at her university. So, while her roommates were busy preparing for civil service exams or job hunting, she took the time to return home. This trip back was not only to return Song Jichuan's money but also to visit Grandpa Song and Secretary Tang once more. Tangwon was well aware that after completing her postgraduate studies, she would join a design institute, settle in Shanghai, and never return to the small county town that had raised her for 20 years. Tangwon returned without alerting anyone. Only on the second day after resting at home did she visit Grandpa Song's house. The old man looked at Tangwon in surprise, affectionately tapped her head, and playfully scolded her for staying away for so long. Although Tangwon would call back monthly to report her safety, she never actually returned. Mr. Song also knew that Song Jichuan had never let go of Tangwon. To avoid putting Tangwon in a difficult position, he never took the initiative to ask her to come back. Thinking of the incidents Song Jichuan had caused over the past 2 months, Mr. Song sighed inwardly but didn't show it, instead cheerfully sharing a meal with Tangwon. Tangwon had also planned to cancel her leave of absence without pay at the military family compound during this return trip. Since she might not come back, it didn't seem right to keep her position reserved. For years had passed, and everything in the family compound seemed unchanged, yet somehow different. With her ID card in hand, Tangwon quickly passed through security and entered the compound's office. Sister Lin, Tangwon called out upon seeing Sister Lin in the office. Tangwon, what brings you back? Sister Lin looked at Tangwon, whom she hadn't seen in 4 years, and almost didn't recognize her. For years of university life had transformed Tangwon's demeanor from the inside out, leaving her radiant and completely renewed. If it weren't for her familiar voice, Sister Lin wouldn't have dared to believe it was her. Sister Lin, I've been accepted into graduate school and will likely stay in Shanghai from now on, so I won't be coming back. I happen to have some free time, so I came back to take care of some formalities. Sister Lin listened as Tangwon said she wouldn't be coming back, and thinking of the mess Song Jichuan had caused, she sighed. It's just as well you're not coming back. You're so outstanding now. There's no need to get involved in all this. Tangwon looked at Sister Lin with surprise. Sister Lin knew that after all this time, Tangwon should have long since moved on, so she didn't hide it from her. Back when Tangwon was in her first year of university, Song Jichuan had volunteered to transfer to a Special Forces unit for a mission, hoping to get promoted quickly so he could be transferred to the Eastern Theater Command, closer to Tangwon, after Song Jichuan left. Luo Susu's image as a genius scientist plummeted. She clearly had the opportunity to transfer but insisted on staying here, stubbornly waiting for Song Jichuan to return. Half a year ago, Song Jichuan returned with honors and used his military achievements to secure approval for a transfer. Unexpectedly, Luo Susu found out about this and used some means to rekindle a relationship with Song Jichuan. 2 months later, Luo Susu became pregnant, just as Song Jichuan was on the verge of success. She revealed her pregnancy to the political commissar and demanded that Song Jichuan marry her, threatening to accuse him of rape otherwise. This incident had a negative impact on the military. Luo Susu was immediately suspended from duty, and Song Jichuan's transfer was temporarily put on hold. Now, Luo Susu constantly harasses Song Jichuan, demanding that he marry her. After hearing Sister Lin's gossip, Tang Wan sighed that it was truly a matter of timing and fate, and that Luo Susu was really willing to do anything to win Song Jichuan. As they spoke, Sister Lin completed the procedures. Tang Wan thanked her, left the office, and prepared to head home. Just as she stepped out of the military compound, she saw Song Jichuan standing at the corner of the entrance in his military uniform, holding a lit cigarette. Seeing Song Jichuan again, Tang Wan felt quite calm inside. However, judging by Song Jichuan's stance, she figured that if she didn't approach him, she wouldn't be able to leave today. I heard you're going to be a father. Congratulations. Tang Wan stepped forward. Wan, I was forced into it. Tang Wan nodded casually, then reached into her pocket, took out a bankbook, and handed it to Song Jichuan. This is the money you've been sending me over the past 4 years. It's all here. Since I ran into you today, I'll return it to you. Song Jichuan smiled bitterly. Wan, is there nothing else we can talk about between us? No? Seeing that Song Jichuan didn't take it, Tang Wan directly threw the passbook into his arms. Then, after thinking about what Sister Lin had just said, she spoke again. Song Jichuan, you actually don't understand me at all. You sending me money and mailing things only ever moves yourself. It can't move me. Do you remember what I said to you when I got engaged? Song Jichuan was momentarily dazed. Back when they got engaged, he had been so impatient. How could he possibly remember what Tang Wan had said? Judging by your expression, I can tell you don't remember. At the time, I said I would treat you very, very well. That was for you. But there was another half of the sentence meant for myself. If one day you stopped loving me, I would leave cleanly and decisively. But I never said I didn't love you. If I hadn't been involved with Luo Susu, could there still have been a chance for us? Song Jichuan anxiously hoped to grasp a glimmer of hope from Tang Wan's response. Song Jichuan, if you hadn't been involved with Luo Susu, it's possible we really would have gotten married. Then you would have continued to favor your junior schoolmate, kept neglecting me, and only shown a hint of affection when I was on the verge of breaking down. You're like training a dog, gradually smoothing out all my edges, turning me into a madwoman with a failed marriage. That's what you're best at, isn't it? No, I wouldn't do that. Perhaps Tang Wan's words were too cold, making Song Jichuan's expression grow even more pained. You wouldn't. Song Jichuan, Secretary Song, how did I look when I died in my past life? With a sudden explosion in his mind, Song Jichuan felt a sharp pain in his heart that swept through his entire body, forcing him to bend over involuntarily, yet he still lifted his head, looking at Tang Wan with a deathly pale face. Wan, when did you find out? When, in my freshman year, you sent me a bouquet of sunflowers through someone. You were there that day, right? I like sunflowers, but you don't know that now. In my past life, you only gave them to me after you made me angry. Tang Wan calmly explained how she had discovered the flaw, then let out a malicious laugh. So, Secretary Song, was my corpse beautiful in my past life, by the time you came back? Had I already started to rot? This time, Song Jichuan truly couldn't hold back any longer. A mouthful of fresh blood sprayed from his lips, and he instantly collapsed to the ground. The sound startled the sentries on duty nearby. Before they could rush over, Tang Wan uttered her final words. Song Jichuan, those who lose me will lose me forever. In this lifetime, I want to live well, so I hope today is the last time we meet. Then, ignoring Song Jichuan's desperate and pleading gaze, she turned and walked away. Postscript. After returning to Shanghai, Tang Wan smoothly completed her postgraduate studies, went abroad for a year on a public scholarship, and upon her return, became the youngest chief at the Shanghai Design Institute. She then participated in Shanghai's reform and development projects, and her career flourished. I met my lifelong partner at work, married him, had children, and lived a happy life. During this time, she only returned to her hometown when Grandpa Song passed away. Song Jichuan also respected Tang Wan's request and did not disturb her. Song Jichuan's extra story. My first life ended the year after Tang Wan's death, when I passed away from a heart condition. Even though my heart had always been healthy before that, it was just frightened, startled by Tang Wan, who opened the door after returning from a long business trip. So after Tang Wan left, it hurt every night. After Tang Wan left, Our affair was posted online by the neighbors, causing significant damage to Susu's and my careers. Everyone started calling us a scumbag and a cheap woman. I didn't mind, because none of it interested me, neither power nor Susu's admiration. It wasn't until a year later, when Susu mentioned marrying me, that I truly realized Tangwon was really gone. Then I understood that Tangwon was oxygen, and my heart had stopped beating on its own because of the lack of oxygen. My second life began at the age of 28, everything remained the same, yet everything had changed. In order to win Wanwan back, I threw myself into every mission without hesitation, hoping to be transferred to a place closer to her as soon as possible, so I could start over with her. With the memories of my past life, I was confident I could win Wanwan back again. As for that woman, Luo Susu, I was certain I could handle her too, but I still underestimated Luo Susu. She actually drugged me, forced herself on me, and then came to me with a swollen belly. When I found out that Luo Susu was pregnant, I knew there was no chance for me in Wanwan, so I was prepared to accept my fate and take responsibility for Susu, but I never expected that Susu would find the remittance slip I sent to Wanwan. In a moment of losing control, she revealed the truth about her pregnancy. Her child was not mine at all. A glimmer of hope dawned once again. On the same day, I learned that Wanwan had returned. That day, I stood at the military gate, watching Wanwan approach from afar, thanking heaven countless times in my heart for giving me another chance. It was only later that I realized it wasn't my chance, but Wanwan's, the final step she took to draw a clear line between us. This time, Wanwan did exceptionally well. She got into university on her own, completed her undergraduate and graduate studies with scholarships, and even studied abroad. On the day of Wanwan's wedding, she looked truly beautiful, wearing a modern wedding dress like an angel, but the angel didn't descend by my side. In this lifetime, I only met Wanwan once, and she recognized me at a glance. My Wanwan is so clever, it's just that she no longer belongs to me. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I have always considered myself an orphan since childhood, with an uncle Shin who has been supporting me and an older sister, Shin Qingya, who is 3 years my senior. In order to get closer to the sister I secretly admired, I worked hard to get into Shanghai University. However, during my 4 years at university, I lived at my sister's house and did my best to take care of her daily life. Yet, my aloof sister always saw me as just a younger brother. In the end, she entered into a marriage of convenience, and her married life was not very happy. While she was busy with work, her husband was keeping a mistress outside. After graduating from university, I left Shanghai, only to be found by my biological parents. However, my biological family had a White Lotus adopted brother, leading to yet another messy and dramatic situation. Anyway, until I died in prison due to my foster brother's framing, I was all alone. The indifference of my family had worn away all my feelings for them and kinship. I hoped that in my next life, I would never encounter these people again. I no longer needed these so-called relatives and family, but after being reborn, I found that the script had changed. Main text: when I was reborn, it was the summer vacation before my senior year internship. There was still 1 year left before graduation. This time, I still planned to leave Shanghai after graduation, but I wouldn't return to the orphanage in Rongqing, so I wouldn't run into my biological parents. I don't want to stay in Shanghai or go to Beijing. Both places are sources of my sorrow. However, leaving requires money, and I currently have only 7,000 yuan in my card, which is my recent internship salary. To have enough money to sustain my reclusive life after finally leaving, I still need to earn some money. Fortunately, I still remember the memories from my previous life very clearly. When I worked at a bar, I remembered the scores of this year's World Cup matches perfectly. Perhaps it's a benefit of rebirth. Everything that happened in my previous life is etched vividly in my memory, but the clearer I remember, the more determined I am to stay away from these people. After downloading the sports lottery app and linking it to my bank card, my associated bank account received a large amount of tax-free prize money every day throughout the World Cup. During one World Cup season, I accidentally ended up with nearly 300 million in prize money in my bank account. The branch manager of my bank even personally called me to recommend various wealth management and large deposit services. Shin Qingya spent the entire summer vacation leaving early and returning late, busy with her company. I knew this was a critical moment for the Shin Group, managed by Shin Qingya, to break into the top 50 in Shanghai's business circle. Ding dong, the doorbell outside rang. Today is my sister's birthday, and I still prepared a table full of her favorite dishes and a cake I made myself. This is also the last time I will celebrate my sister's birthday. After the graduation ceremony next year, I will leave, and my sister's birthday next year will have nothing to do with me. But now it's already 11:59 when I opened the door. I saw a man bringing my sister home. I had seen this man in my previous life. He is my sister's university classmate and business partner, who, like me, is a failure in love, but I didn't pay him any attention, nor did I let him in. I just took my sister inside and closed the door. Stood at the door, staring at the door that had almost hit his nose, feeling a bit bewildered. This incredibly handsome younger brother was just too aloof in the room. My sister's behavior after drinking wasn't exactly great, or maybe it was just bad specifically toward me. Still, I helped her back to her own room, laid her on the bed, took off her shoes, and covered her with the air conditioning blanket. Following past experience, I prepared a glass of honey water on the bedside table to help with her hangover. Shinchinya would need to drink it when she got thirsty while sleeping. The next morning, Shinchinya woke up early and remembered the phone call she had with me yesterday afternoon. We had agreed to have dinner at home, but she ended up celebrating with the company in the evening and forgot all about it. Shinchinya never apologizes or admits defeat. After drinking the honey tea on the bedside table, she took the empty cup downstairs. The dining room had already been cleaned up, and the trash had been taken out by me. The results of my hard work all afternoon, I only took a few bites, were all thrown into the trash. I happened to come out of my room with my backpack, heading to Shanghai University. I greeted Shinchinya and left. Shinchinya found it a bit strange that I seemed different today. She had been so busy this summer that she hardly had time to see me. Shinchinya thought I was upset because she didn't come back to have dinner with me yesterday. She had even forgotten that yesterday was her actual birthday. Shinchinya's birthday was changed during her school years. To start school earlier, the date on her documents was moved up by over a month. Shinchinya thought for a moment and decided to visit Shanghai University at noon, planning to have lunch with her younger brother while she was there. Shinchinya is also a graduate of Shanghai University and is considered an outstanding alumna. At noon, Shinchinya saw me outside my teaching building, where I was being stopped by several girls asking to add me on WeChat. There's also a very beautiful girl confessing to me. Shinchinya inexplicably felt an intense sourness in her heart and couldn't help but step forward to take my arm. I was about to pull my arm away, but when I saw it was Shinchinya, I asked in surprise, "Sis, what are you doing here?" "I came to find you to have lunch together. What's going on here? They're all classmates." "Don't mind them, let's go, sis. I'll treat you to a meal. What do you want to eat? Let's go. We'll head to the small cafeteria. It's been a while since I've had their food. I'm feeling a bit nostalgic." Sis, the small cafeteria changed owners, and now it sells milk tea, fried chicken, and burgers. Then let's go to the one off campus." "Alright." I was pulled away by Shinchinya, however. Those who witnessed this scene downstairs from the teaching building posted photos of Shinchinya and me together on the campus website. What a beautiful and mature woman. I want to know everything about her in 10 minutes. Cut the arrogance from above. If you want to know about that beauty, check the outstanding alumni website. She's ranked 7th. Senior Shin, the CEO of Shin Group. Has our campus heartthrob Fu Jingyan been kept by a wealthy woman? I heard Fu Jingyan calls her sister. So the aloof and low-key Fu Jingyan is a rich second generation. No way. From freshman year until now, I've seen Fu Jingyan take on over a dozen part-time jobs. I've never seen a rich second generation who earns and spends their own money. Impossible. One of them is surnamed Shin, the other is surnamed Fu. Fu Jingyan can't possibly be a rich second generation, and so, my low-key campus life was disrupted by Shinchinya's whim. However, I didn't pay attention to the online discussions. Even when a close friend from my class called, I advised them not to bother with the online chatter, explaining that there was no need to clarify anything and that it would fade away in a few days. In the second cafeteria, we ordered a few tasty dishes and sat down in a corner. Both Shinchinya and I avoided talking about what happened yesterday. "Jingyan, have you found an internship yet? How about coming to Shinsha Group for an internship?" I refused without even thinking. In my previous life, it was at the end of my internship at Shinsha Group that I met Fu Wani from the Kyoto Fu Group, my biological older sister. She recognized me only by the scar on my hand and a red heart-shaped birthmark behind my ear. That scar was from a fall I had when she was taking care of me as a child. It's shaped like a crescent moon, making it quite easy to identify. This time, I don't want to return to that cold, unwelcoming family, even though they searched for me for over a decade. It was nothing more than an obsession on their part. For over a decade, they adopted a boy around my age named Fuyan, and the family was full of joy and harmony. In my previous life, I tried to integrate into the family, pouring all my emotions into each member, only to be repaid with wounds and painful memories. In the end, I was framed by my adopted brother, who accused me of leaking company secrets. Over the course of a year, This white lotus of an adopted brother turned everyone in the family against me. No one would listen to me or believe what I said. Whenever something went wrong, they would unanimously assume I was the one at fault, leading to my imprisonment. My second sister, who was also my lawyer, personally pleaded guilty on my behalf and gave up the appeal. I protested in prison, but my family ignored me, and no one came to visit. Then, someone arranged by my adopted brother staged an accident. I was stabbed in the neck with a sharpened toothbrush, severing a major artery. After losing too much blood and being sent to the hospital, I was reborn. This time, I can't be bothered to go back to that house. I think I can live just fine without parents or family. Before I was reborn, I would have gladly accepted the internship at my sister's company, but now, forget it. And at the company, I'd have to see my sister being pursued by different people. So annoying. Forget it. Besides, I already know my sister doesn't like me. So there's no need to waste my feelings. It's better for both me and my sister, and it won't cause her any trouble or inconvenience. Sis, the school has arranged an internship for me. I won't be going to your company anymore. Thank you, sis. Shinchinya didn't think much of it, mainly because she felt that I wasn't as clingy to her as before today. Actually, Shinchinya's sudden whim today also left me feeling incredulous. The matter of the internship in my previous life was only mentioned when we met at home, but this sudden whim of Shinchinya also allowed her to see how popular Fu Jingyan was at Shanghai University. It was just that the younger brother before her eyes had grown up, and his rejections didn't make the girls feel hurt, as if he was supposed to refuse. The more I refused, the more aloof my rejections became. The more girls came flocking like moths to a flame, however. There were also quite a few girls who made bets on getting my contact information, which left me utterly speechless. For my internship, I found a company owned by a classmate's family to help with the stamping, while I went to Qibao Old Street to buy shops in the connected courtyards, which cost me a total of 1.3 billion. In the end, I purchased 5 large courtyards and 6 storefronts. I continued to rent out the 6 storefronts, while I connected 4 of the 5 large courtyards and converted them into ghost houses. The remaining courtyard was renovated to serve as my secluded retreat. I had been here in my previous life. It was considered an ancient town tourist attraction within Shanghai's urban area, with very good business. I wanted to hide myself, to live in seclusion within the city, in such a touristy place. It was unlikely that Shinchinya or anyone from the Fu family would come to this kind of tourist spot. I entrusted all 6 storefront properties to an agency to rent out, which brings me a monthly income of 120,000 yuan. I studied architectural design, so I quickly drew up the renovation plans for the homestay, combining modern and antique styles, and renovating these 5 courtyards while trying to preserve the exterior of the buildings as much as possible. The renovation of these 5 courtyards took a full year and cost me a total of 40 million yuan. The homestay, composed of 4 courtyards with a simple and rustic exterior, along with an independent private courtyard, features comfortable, modern interiors with all amenities, including a swimming pool. During my senior year, aside from going to school during the day, I spent my time in Qibao Ancient Town, using the excuse of an internship to keep it a secret from Shinchinya. I didn't tell anyone about the homestay's opening. I simply listed it for bookings on various major platforms. The homestay's location was excellent, with a great environment but not cheap prices, yet business was surprisingly good. I had also hired a professional management team in advance to help run the homestay. It had a total of 30 luxury guest rooms, 10 family suites, and 6 luxury suites, each designed in a different style. The cafe and restaurant are also managed by professional chefs and service staff. I bought a moderately sized courtyard nearby for these dozen or so employees, which I renovated into dormitories and a staff cafeteria. This year, I earned another 130 million from sports lottery winnings. However, by the end of next year, all the data on various competitions I memorized while working at the bar will have been used up. Still, my savings are sufficient, and the current homestay and shops are enough to cover my expenses for the rest of my life. I gradually acquired over a dozen shops on the old street, which now bring in an additional monthly income of over 300,000 yuan. Even if the homestay doesn't generate profit, the rental income from these shops is enough to sustain its operations. I also donated 10 million to the orphanage where I used to stay and spoke with the old director, telling him I was going abroad. This was a little scheme of mine. I didn't want the Fu family from Kyoto to find the orphanage and learn my whereabouts. In my previous life, when my eldest sister found me, the private detective hired by my parents also located the orphanage where I was staying. This time, I planned to mislead them again, directing their attention abroad, while in reality, I'll be living in seclusion in Shanghai. I feel a bit smug. In this life, I just want to live quietly. Family ties and love have nothing to do with me. The graduation ceremony arrived as scheduled. I put on my bachelor's gown and attended the ceremony with my classmates. After taking the group photo, I was about to leave when several girls from my department and others called out to me. They wanted to take photos with me. I was initially inclined to refuse, but then I spotted my sister, who hadn't attended my graduation in my previous life, appearing in the distance. For some reason, I agreed to the girls' request for photos. At that moment, I was still quite happy inside. After all, I no longer held any expectations for Xinqingya. I just didn't know why Xinqingya had come to the school. In this life, I hadn't informed her, and during my senior year, we had rarely met. She was busy with work, and I was occupied with renovating the guest house and my future home. Actually, during this period, I have noticeably distanced myself from Xinqingya. Previously, I would often prepare breakfast, even though Xinqingya never ate it once. But there would always be different nutritious breakfasts on the table when she went out in the morning. It's just that during this time, Xinqingya hasn't seen me at all, and I was so busy during the spring festival that I didn't spend proper time with Xinqingya and her father. My internship work kept me very occupied, which made Xinqingya a bit uncomfortable. However, Xinqingya's father still sensed something. After the spring festival, he talked to me alone, and in the end, he was quite satisfied that I had come to terms with reality. He indicated that he would also help keep my plans to go abroad a secret. But I no longer accepted his financial assistance. In this lifetime, I didn't pester Xinqingya to attend my graduation ceremony, nor did I meet my eldest sister Fuwani due to my internship. So why did Xinqingya come? Xinqingya suddenly realized that over the past 3 years, she had grown accustomed to my care and attention. This year, however, my internship kept me so busy that I had no time to look after her, which left her feeling a bit unsettled. A couple of days ago, Xinqingya heard from an intern at her company about the graduation ceremony at Shanghai University. It suddenly dawned on her that I, her younger brother, was about to graduate as well. As if drawn by some inexplicable force, Xinqingya came to the ceremony. When she arrived, she saw me surrounded by several vibrant and beautiful girls, all clamoring to take photos with Fu Jingyan. An inexplicable pang of bitterness welled up in Xinqingya's heart. Who would have thought? That little rascal is quite popular. Then again, Jingyan is indeed good-looking, but how come I never noticed it before? Xinqingya still walked over and very naturally linked her arm with mine. Who are you? A girl asked warily. Hello, classmates. I'm Fu Jingyan's sister. I came to see my brother's graduation ceremony. Oh, so you're the beautiful sister our brother Yan always talks about. Meeting you in person today, sister. You're so beautiful. A boy beside her said enthusiastically, really, Jingyan often praises me at home. Yes, brother Yan often praises you for being beautiful and capable. Sister, you came at just the right time. Why don't you take a photo with brother Yan too? The girl beside her said. Just as I was about to pull Xinqingya away, she suddenly replied, okay, this was a situation that hadn't occurred in my previous life, and I was still a bit excited about it. With the help of my friends, Xinqingya and I took several photos using her phone and mine. The intimate photos of Xinqingya and me looked so harmonious. My friend Qin Feng knew my situation and what was on my mind, so this photo session might have fulfilled a dream of mine. The girl who suggested that Xinqingya and I take photos together was Qin Feng's girlfriend. I was very grateful to them, but I still didn't tell them about my plans after graduation. I didn't want to cause them any trouble. The day after the graduation ceremony, Xinqingya went on a business trip to Kyoto, just as she had in my previous life. After saying goodbye to Mr. Shin over the phone, I left. I specifically took a taxi to the airport, picked up my ticket, and left Shanghai for Country M. Next, I bought a used car from a second-hand car market in Country M without needing to transfer ownership, and then drove it back across the border. I found a smuggling passage I had heard about in the prison from my previous life. At this time, there really were no patrols. It was a loophole. After abandoning the car, I quickly walked through. Soon, I returned to the country, using a new set of identity documents I had bought on the black market while renovating the homestay. I purchased a Land Rover Range Rover and drove back to Shanghai. It took me over 10 days to return to my new home in Qibao Ancient Town. I planned to retire here in the future. What I didn't expect was that Xinqingya had returned to Shanghai ahead of schedule. After discovering I was gone, she ignored her father's objections and hired a private detective to search for me everywhere. The Fu family in Kyoto also found Xinqingya at the orphanage, and upon learning of my departure, they had their hired private detective fully cooperate in the search for me. With the help of the Fu family, my sports lottery winning data and the property I purchased in Qibao Ancient Town were quickly uncovered. I never imagined that my actions would be so easily traceable. Even though I tried to divert their attention, they were still able to find me through the slightest clues. At that time, I was still admiring my newly purchased motorcycle and electric scooter in my new home. Driving in and out of the ancient town is not very convenient. so I parked the Land Rover in the parking lot outside the town to avoid queuing and traffic jams on the way back to my new home. Anyway, the homestay has a long-term parking space in the external parking lot, but I needed a short-distance transportation tool. An electric bike was the first choice, but a very cool motorcycle road racer at the nearby motorcycle shop caught my eye. Not short on money, I naturally added this toy to my collection. The shops in Chiba ancient town don't require much of my attention, as I have a commissioned property rental agency managing them, and the income is very stable. Since the homestay went online, its operations have been steadily improving. The current average occupancy rate has reached 82%, which is already profitable, combined with revenue from the restaurant, cafe, and some souvenir sales. The homestay is not in the loss-making state I initially imagined it would be, however. My good mood was completely shattered when Shinchinya and the Fu family showed up at the homestay 3 months later. I tried to slip away, but Shinchinya stopped me. I had never seen Shinchinya looking so haggard before, and suddenly, my heart ached for her. After all, in both my past life and this one, Shinchinya is the only person I have ever truly loved. After I left, Shinchinya often had nightmares while sleeping. She dreamed that in her previous life, Fu Jingyan returned to the capital and was imprisoned just over a year later. She wanted to visit him but discovered that her husband was having an affair. In the end, Fu Jingyan died in prison, and she was left with nothing. Both her wealth and her husband were taken by the mistress. The child in her womb was lost, and she eventually went mad. Shinchinya was tormented by these nightmares every day, unable to sleep well. She couldn't understand why Fu Jingyan would end up in prison in her dreams and eventually die there. Moreover, the Shinchinya in her dreams seemed to be a reflection of her future reality. The key was that the husband from her dreams had recently been collaborating with her family Shin group, and her father was somewhat persuaded by their family's proposal for a marriage alliance. At this moment, Shinchinya realized I was gone, something that hadn't happened in her dreams. This made her somewhat suspicious, but when the Fu family from the capital came knocking, Shinchinya began to believe in the dream. I faced the 3 Fu sisters without being subservient or arrogant, simply refusing to acknowledge or engage with them. Even when they were fuming with anger, they didn't leave. I never expected that they would secretly collect items with my DNA imprint for comparison and testing. Under the close surveillance of the 3 women, the test report was quickly obtained. The paternity test confirmed that I, Fu Jingyan, was the lost child of the Fu family, the only boy in the family. This result brought joy to everyone in the Fu family, except for my adopted brother, Fu Yan, who was the only one unhappy. If I hadn't appeared, Fu Yan would have successfully taken my place in the Fu family, but just as he was about to enter the Fu group, the Fu family found their long-lost biological son. In my previous life, on the day I was brought back, a welcome banquet was supposed to be held, but Fu Yan deliberately fell from the 2nd floor and broke his leg to gain sympathy and attention from the family. My parents stayed at the hospital all night, and my 3 sisters took turns caring for Fu Yan, who was hospitalized. As for my welcome banquet, the family never mentioned it again. It's just that this time, I don't want to go back to that home from my previous life where I couldn't feel a trace of warmth. Even if my 3 sisters come back to find me with DNA test reports, I won't pay them any attention. In my previous life, my foster brother Fu Yan framed me, and they were accomplices. Even after I died in prison later, they never showed me any sympathy. In this life, I don't want to have any connection with them, nor do I want any involvement with the Fu family. It's just that Shinchinya is the only woman I've ever liked since I was young, but just when I truly gave up, you appeared before my eyes again. Why is this script a bit different from the one in my previous life? My parents and my adopted brother also came from Kyoto, booking rooms to stay in the guest house. They were not allowed to enter the courtyard where I lived, except for Shinchinya. Over the past 2 days, she used her authority as an older sister to forcefully move into the backyard under the pretext of taking care of me. In the guest house, my adopted brother Fu Yan once again unleashed his White Lotus skills, trying to win sympathy and pity from our parents. However, this time he chose the wrong place. This guest house is my territory. The public areas are filled with surveillance cameras, and even the courtyard where I live is monitored. Fu Yan's self-inflicted suffering left him hospitalized for a week with no one visiting him. Nevertheless, the Fu family arranged the best hospital room, treatment, and nursing staff for him. Fu Yan's White Lotus skills have reached new heights. But even if he combined them with the Green Tea Man's tea art skills, it would be useless. Plus, I have no desire to acknowledge the Fu family at all. With no desires, I stand firm. All of Fu Yan's tactics only made the Fu family feel dissatisfied and angry with him. Soon, Fu Yan left in disgrace, and the recent farce finally came to an end. The only thing I couldn't understand during this time was Shinchinya's unwavering support and defense of me in this life. The Fu family didn't criticize me once, unlike in the previous life. Could it be that changing the setting also changes people's emotions? It seems I was right not to return to Kyoto or the Fu family. In this life, I have my own money and can earn it myself. My life is comfortable, so why should I go back to the Fu family in Kyoto? Why bring trouble upon myself? Isn't it better to live a good life? Soon, my father and my 2 older sisters left as well. They were busy with work and didn't have time to stay long, but my mother and my 3rd sister, Fu Wanqing, remained. I understand my mother. My disappearance was also a knot in her heart. Later, after adopting Fu Yan, she poured all the guilt she felt for me into him. Now that she has found me, she truly doesn't want to be too far away from me. What I didn't expect was that my 3rd sister, Fu Wanqing, who in my previous life always mindlessly sided with my adopted brother Fu Yan, constantly blaming me for everything, and even helped count the money after Fu Yan sold her out, would also choose to stay here. My mother and Xinqingya often spend time together drinking tea, constantly asking about my situation. However, many details about me were overlooked by Xinqingya. Looking back now, Xinqingya realizes just how deep my feelings for her as a younger brother truly were. But the emotions I now show toward Xinqingya are merely those of a younger brother toward his older sister, which makes Xinqingya feel very uncomfortable. Soon, Xinqingya's ex-husband from her previous life also came looking for her. It turned out that the 2 families had arranged a blind date, but Xinqingya didn't show up. When Xinqingya's father learned that she had found me and was staying at my place, he couldn't help but sigh and let her be. After all, his daughter's happiness was important. However, Xinqingya's blind date was not pleased, being stood up for a blind date. According to his temperament, he would usually not bother with Xinqingya again, but he had seen her in person. Xinqingya's beautiful appearance made him fall in love at first sight. He insisted on coming to find her and created a sensational scene of courtship at my doorstep, which was recorded by passers-by and uploaded online. I was at home at the time, dragged up by Xinqingya to serve as a shield, but looking at this guy in front of me, thinking about how in my previous life he kept a mistress and made Xinqingya's life miserable, I couldn't help but feel furious. The key point is that now he's causing trouble at my doorstep, so I got into a scuffle with him and even slapped him twice. In the end, after the scenic area security arrived, this guy muttered a few harsh words and scurried away. The security guards and I are familiar with each other. I'm practically the hidden tycoon of the ancient town, with storefront properties all over the place. The key is that the guest house I run is the best in the ancient town, while others can't fill their rooms at 200 yuan a night. My 2,000 yuan rooms have guests lining up, not to mention the family suites and luxury suites, which are fully booked every single day. After the security guards helped drive away that disgusting guy, I took a few packs of cigarettes and shared them with the brothers. They've always treated me well, but this is all thanks to the goodwill I've built by being generous and considerate in my daily life. During this time, I've been making a living in the ancient town, and I've handled the social dynamics here quite well. At least in this town, I can rally people with a single call, and I won't be bullied here. Various topics about the 2 families and the group have been heatedly discussed. And of course, I, the unlucky one, got dragged into it as well. However, news about me and Xinqingya was quickly suppressed. I know the Fu family was behind it. They have the power and capability to do so, but I won't feel indebted to the Fu family. I just want to live my life, and they can live theirs. However, I really dislike, how Xinqingya often shows up at my place, even taking over my master bedroom and studio. Isn't she busy with work? But seeing Xinqingya and 3rd sister Fu Wanqing argue over who is my sister, and 3rd sister's frustrated expression, I was actually quite happy. Perhaps it was because I firmly refused to return to the Fu family, and my lonely childhood in the orphanage touched the hearts of 3rd sister and the others. I think in my previous life, they must have felt the same way when they found me, but it slowly faded over time. Damn Fu Yan. However, in this life, my resolute refusal to acknowledge my family and return to the Fu family deeply moved them, amplifying their guilt toward me. Besides, without returning to the Fu family in the capital, which is Fu Yan's familiar territory, anything he does is futile. Nothing Fu Yan does or says can cause any harm to someone who is determined not to return home and acknowledge their family. It will only make the Fu family think that Fu Yan is being unreasonable and deepen their sense of guilt toward me. But that's not what I need. I just want to stay as far away from the Fu family as possible. In this life, I won't return to the Fu family or go to the capital. No matter how much Fu Yan stirs up trouble, it has nothing to do with me. Whatever Fu Yan tries to do, I won't take the bait. Let's see what else she can do to me. Besides, I also know the technique of walking the path of the White Lotus so that the White Lotus has nowhere to go. Anyway, during this time, every time Fu Yan has tried to stir up trouble, she has gained nothing. On the contrary, Everyone in the Fu family has distanced themselves from her, even though third sister went to the film set to shoot, and second sister and eldest sister took turns staying at my homestay. I never took the initiative to contact them, it's just that they wore me down, and my heart grew softer, but I still insisted on not acknowledging them and not going to Kyoto with them. Xinqingya also noticed Fu Yan's issues and gradually understood why I ended up in prison in the dream and why I insisted on not returning to the Fu family now. As an observer, Xinqingya gave my three sisters the most sincere advice to stop bothering me, but my sisters were unwilling, especially eldest sister, since it was she who took me out when I got lost back then, day by day. Many interesting things happen in the ancient town. The coffee shop at the guest house has now become the hub for all kinds of information in the town, and I hear plenty of gossip every day, including quite a bit about my sister, Xinqingya. Xinqingya and her blind date have been at odds, and people in the ancient town often see him pestering her, only to be stopped by the bodyguards around her. One day, Xinqingya insisted on dragging me along as her driver to attend a friend's wedding. That evening, I saw her blind date actually bribing someone to drug Xinqingya. I broke the wine glass, protecting Xinqingya from drinking the drugged wine. As a result, I ended up in the hospital after being beaten by people arranged by Xinqingya's blind date in order to protect her. I was unconscious for 2 full days, and everyone from the Fu family rushed to the hospital. The family of Xinqingya's blind date was bankrupted and acquired by the Fu group within 26 hours of my hospitalization. That blind date was also personally sent to prison by Shin's father, and with the unfavorable evidence uncovered by the police, he is likely to spend the rest of his life behind bars. Xinqingya stayed by my side for 2 days without sleep, constantly talking to me. After I woke up, she smiled and fainted into my arms. From then on, my relationship with Xinqingya changed. I no longer wanted to call her sister, and she got used to calling me by my name. Our relationship has grown even stronger. And the road racing bike I bought has become our exclusive ride for evening dates. Xinqingya really enjoys leaning against my back as we head to various destinations, and our heartbeats seem to sync together. However, the increasingly neglected Fu Yan, hoping for a better life in his next reincarnation, still followed the same path as his previous life by stealing the Fu family's business secrets and selling them to their rivals, only to end up shooting himself in the foot. Fu's father and his eldest sister, Fu Wanyi, were extremely dissatisfied with Fu Yan. At the request of his second sister, Fu Wanrong, the Fu Corporation installed many hidden cameras, which coincidentally captured Fu Yan in the act of stealing business secrets, and not just once, even after finally sending Fu Yan to prison, and with the Fu family and Fu Yan signing a severance agreement. I still had no intention of returning to the Fu family or going to Kyoto, unable to do otherwise. The Fu family moved the headquarters of the Fu group to Shanghai, bought a row of townhouses in a corner of Jiangnan Yufu near Qibao ancient town, rebuilt the walls, and opened a door closer to my homestay. I was pursued and confessed to by Xinqingya, and we finally registered our marriage a year later. At the time, it was one of the most lively wedding ceremonies in Qibao ancient town, causing a huge stir online. I thought I was just a lucky guy. But after the news broke that I was the biological only son of the Fu group, the screen was filled with all kinds of praise. I know this was deliberately leaked by the Fu family, essentially publicly acknowledging my identity. I didn't resist it fiercely. Instead, I tacitly accepted it. Everyone in the Fu family seemed quite surprised by this, but soon, they were even happier because I brought Xinqingya to serve tea to my parents as a daughter-in-law, after hearing the 2 stories above. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.